Hi guys, how are you doing? This is a video about panic stalling over and over and over again, getting yourself into a total tiz and just going to pieces basically. So this is a video about that because sometimes this happens. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say is make sure that you understand what the clutch is, what the clutch does. Make sure that you spend time understanding what that is. I hear stories about I meet students and they say to me, oh, on my first driving lesson, I've got this student at the moment, he learnt in Swindon. I've only met him once. On his first driving lesson in Swindon, his driving instructor said, right, we're going to the magic roundabout. On his first driving lesson. Guys, that's just dangerous, yeah? That's just dangerous. No, basically, that is not how we learn how to be driving instructors. That is not what we were taught to do. We were taught to start at the beginning, controls lesson, and you talk about all the controls of the car, and then you use them in safe places to move off. You need to understand how to use the clutch properly. If you want to learn it online, I've made shed loads of videos about the clutch. They're all in the how to drive a manual car in my playlist, and I have put so much effort into talking about the clutch, understanding the clutch mechanics of it and how it works and what to do with it and blah blah. If you want to be a grade A elite gold star driver, understand the clutch if you're driving a manual car. All right? Okay, so in a side road, you must understand how to use the clutch, how to use it properly, okay? If you're put onto the road too quickly with your accompanying driver, it's dangerous and you will never feel comfortable. You will never feel really, really confident because you don't know how to control the car. And you're out there and you are mixing with people who are driving around and they've potentially been on the road for years and you don't know how to use the clutch. You do not know how to use the machine. So it's very, very important that you know how to use the biting point. Now, having said all that, let's just say you have done that. And Roz, what are you talking about? I have done that. That's exactly what I've done. I've done all that. I was in the nursery routes for ages with my driving instructor, and I still went out there and I still get myself into a pickle when I'm at a crossroads turning right. Yeah, if you know, you know. Yeah, Yellow Box Junction's turning right. That's a classic place to stall. That is a classic place for a student to go to pieces, even if they have learnt in the side roads and they know and they understand the clutch, because there's people all around them and they feel that they've got pressure behind them. If the light changes red and they've got limited time to move out of the junction at that stage, panic stations, lifting the clutch until not the examiner, your instructor just goes, do you know what? I can see that you're panicking here. Let me take over for you. Let me just sort this out and we can get more chilled in a side road, you know? It can happen at a crossroads turning right, classic place. It can happen on a hill start. It can happen at a junction, okay? It can happen anywhere where there's somebody behind. Now, a lot of the time, if there wasn't anyone behind the student, they'd be all right. They'd be totally fine. And they'd stall once and they'd be like, oh, I wonder what happened there. They've got the time, they've got the luxury of speaking it through. But if there's somebody behind, they just go to pieces. They absolutely fall apart, yeah? And they want to go quickly. Oh, I'm holding the person up behind, so I'll lift the clutch quickly next time, so I go off fast so I can get out of their way. Yeah, it makes them stall again. And then again, they fluster. Oh, they get the car started again. Oh, I want to go because I'm making everyone wait. I lift the clutch, stall again, until you just chill and you go, all right, do you know what? I've stalled. I'm a learner. I've stalled. And that's okay, because that's what learners do. Learners stall. And I'm wearing the L plate. I'm displaying the fact that I'm a learner. And people have to accept that learners stall, all right? It is what it is. A child will fall over many times before they know how to balance and walk. You cannot be a learner without stalling. You can't. It's impossible. You can't be a human being without falling over before you understand how to balance and walk. It's impossible. You've got to do it. In fact, it's very important that you did it. Can you imagine if you never stalled on your driving lessons? And then you got given your driving license and then you went out there, no one's with you, and then you stall for the very first time on a roundabout. You would absolutely go to pieces. If you were sat with your friend and you'd never stalled before, this is impossible, by the way. I'm just hypothetically talking about it, a fantasy world. But if you were on the roundabout and you'd stalled, yeah, for the first time in your life, and you've got your license and your friend was sat with you and you went to pieces because you had no idea how to sort it out, your friend would be like, why don't you know how to fix a stall? Oh, because I never learned it on my driving lessons. It's important that you stall on your driving lessons so you understand how to start the car again. Is it a car that when you put the clutch down, it comes back to life? Is it a car that when you put the clutch down, you need to turn the key? Yeah? Is it a car that you need to put the clutch down and press the button to restart the car? I mean, what car have you got here? You need to know how to stall. You've got to stall. It's really important. If you're going to stall 100 times as a learner, that's probably too much. If you're going to stall 50, 60 times as a learner, just cross one off the list. Just be like, okay, that's one less. That's one less. But it's not like when you finish being a learner, you're never going to stall again. You often see, people who've had their licenses for years stalling. They're driving a van or they're driving their own car and they stall. It just happens, You're not immune. I'm not immune to a stall. It's highly embarrassing if it happens. But you're going to stall when you've left your driving instructor, when you've left your accompanying driver, you're going to stall again. Really, really important, right? When people panic stall over and over and over again, it's because of the person behind. A lot of the time, it's because of that. If there's no one around, the student is unlikely to panic stall over and over again. They're panicking because of the people behind. So you just need to be like, take a moment, yeah. I've stalled. I'm a learner. I need to get this together, because if I don't, then I'm just going to repeatedly stall by lifting the clutch up. You're just going to stall over and over and over again. Yeah. So you need to calm it down. You've got to stay on the biting point for 2 car lengths. You've got to stay on the biting point for 2 car lengths. Sorry, I can't speak properly because I'm too emotional. I call the clutch a diva. She has serious boundaries on this. If you don't give her 2 car lengths on the biting point, she'll be like, you're not treating me right. I'm going to stall you in front of your friends. I'm going to stall you on this roundabout. I'm literally just going to I'm just walking away from you, man. And I'm leaving you in this roundabout on your own in front of everyone until you treat me right. Yeah. So she is a diva. She is never going to let you get away with that. I've had male students turn around to me and go, God, she really always wins, doesn't she? And I'm like, yep, she always wins. Until you join her and you give her 2 car lengths of space, you haven't got a chance. She beats you every time. She's like, So me and my students, like if my student stalls, I always go, she's doing that to you. She's doing that to you. And they're like, yeah. Because we talk about it all the time. You have to stay on it for 2 car lengths. Yeah, it's so important. All right, 2 car lengths. The other thing that can make you stall is that you're not using enough gas. Hills, you've got to use more gas. Lots of my female students are like, oh, I don't like the noise. Guys, you've got to have noise. The car needs energy. Like you do when you go for a walk, you need a bowl of porridge, you need a banana, you need some food. You've got to get going. You need some energy. The car needs gas to lock on, to pulling away without stalling it, especially if there's a hill. So you need to set the gas, 1,500 revs, 2,000 revs if you're on a hill. Find the bite. Don't find your biting point with your foot brake on. I've made videos about that. Go and have a look at that. That's a separate thing really to what I want to have in this video. Set your gas. That's a go position. Set your gas. Energy. I've got my banana. I've got my energy. I've got my power. Yeah. Revs. I've got my revs. Find the bite. So that's a go position. You don't want to have a go stop position. You don't want to have your foot brake on when you're finding your bite. I've spoken about that in other videos. Set the gas, go. Find the bite, go. Yeah. If your handbrake's on, not too much, and then checking around, handbrake down, and then flippers on the feet. So adding, as you lift the clutch up, more gas. Yeah. So you're flippering your feet there, flippers or seesawing your feet, whatever you want to say. Yeah. So if you are a student who's learnt it all properly and you've been in the side roads and you're like, yeah, Ros, do you know what? I've got all of the theory. I know about the clutch. I know about the clutch plates. I know about putting the clutch down potentially quickly, but lifting the clutch up really, really slowly. I know about holding it for 2 car lengths, but when there's people around, my brain just falls out of my ear and I'm panicking and da-da-da. Yeah, that's just a practice thing. You just need to be around cars more in a safe environment. You need to accept that you're going to stall sometimes. You need to, yeah, do you know what? I've stalled. You know? All right, let's start this again. Let's take it gently. Let's take it slowly. If you use more gas, it's less likely that you're going to stall, but you've got to be careful. Because if you're panicking and you think to yourself, Ros said more gas will stop me from stalling. Yes, this is true. If a boy racer wants to do a wheel spin and go really fast, he'll give it loads of gas and lift his clutch off with no skill. He'll do a massive wheel spin and go off really quickly, or he'll just burn all of his tyres away on the floor. Now, I'm not trying to teach you to do that. But what I'm trying to explain to you is because the boy racer has given it loads of gas and lifted his clutch off with no skill, he still hasn't stalled, okay? So it's a very, very challenging to stall a car if you've got loads of gas. Again, I'm not trying to teach you to do this, but I'm just explaining. So if you've got a stalling problem, add a bit more gas, not as much as the boy racer, because if you're panicking and you're lifting the clutch up, you are just going to be a bullet out of a gun, and that could be unsafe. If you're doing a turn, you might lose control. But if you've got a stalling problem, add a few more miles an hour. Try not to be like one of those people who go, I don't like the noise. Yeah, we've got to have some energy. If you lifted up heavy bags, you'd go, ugh. Do you need, this car is very heavy. It needs energy. It needs its banana. It needs its porridge, yeah? It's not very nice of you not to give it any food to get moving, yeah? And also, it's a very slow move away. So I understand that this is a big thing. Panic stalling over and over and over again is one, because you haven't practiced enough. You haven't been in a side road. But if you're sat there going, no, that isn't me, Ros, I know exactly what the hell's going on. My driving instructor is amazing and we spent loads of time on it. He didn't put me onto the road too early. We know about the control of the car. Yeah, I feel all right with that. Great, tick, gold star, love it. Yeah, brilliant. But if you are then worried about the person behind, you do need to accept that you're a learner. You've got the sign on, you're doing your best. It says in the highway code that people need to be patient with us. If you've got a horrible person around, which is quite rare, but if you do have a horrible person around, you just need to be like, that's weird. That person signed up to be on the road to accept all road users. I'm a road user. Sod off, man. I'm doing my best, right? I'm learning how to drive at 46 to 55 pounds an hour. Get lost as I learn to drive. You're paying 2p to sit there as I struggle here. I'm paying 46 to 55 pounds an hour here. I've stalled. Take it. You know, you're the one who's accepted to be on the road with bikes, tractors, buses, yeah, all of the rest of us, yeah. My students need to just be like, yeah, do you know what? I've stalled, and that's what learners do. I'm going to take it easy here. Guys, if you stall repeatedly over and over and over and over again, that person behind you is more likely to go to their destination, go to their job, go to wherever they were, and they'll report back to the person that they're speaking to, stuck behind a learner and they stalled 15 times, 5 times, okay, I'm overreacting. They stalled 3 to 5 times. And then the person drinking their coffee in the office will go, oh yeah, it's nightmare, that nightmare. And they'll have a discussion about your 3 to 5 because you were panicking, trying to get going because of them. If you are able to balance a little bit more gas and a little bit slower on the bite, yeah, you may have a slower pull away or maybe even a slightly speedier pull away if you've decided to use more gas, depending on which way you're going with it, yeah. The person, if you've had a slightly slower pull away, slightly slower, or a teeny bit of a faster pull away because you're adding more gas, they're not going to go to the office or back to their loved one and go, oh, stuck behind this learner who pulled off just this little bit too slowly. They're not going to report it. They're not going to say, oh, they used so much gas, I could hear it. They don't care. What they do care about is multiple stalling because that's what holds them up. They don't care about your revving engine. They won't report it. They'll forget it within 5 minutes. They're not going to drive down the road 5 minutes later and be like, I can't believe he used too much gas there. Can't believe that. I mean, really? So much gas. I mean, geez. I mean, they're not, who cares, you know? I mean, who cares? It just doesn't matter. So depending on which way you're going to go with it, yeah, more gas in a sensible sort of way. You need to check what's in front of you, okay? If there's a car in front of you because you're in a queue to turn right, Obviously don't use the gas, yeah, of course, yeah. If you get your clutch work wrong, you're just going to smash into the back of them, yeah. But ideally you need to balance both of those things. My strong advice to you is if you're stalling on the road all the time, and I mean excessively, like 15 to 20 times an hour, you need to get off the road. Whoever you're driving with needs to take you off the road, instructor or not. They need to accept that you're stalling too much, or you need to accept I'm stalling too much, and you need to turn around to your accompanying driver and go, can I go somewhere quieter and learn the clutch? And hopefully if you're with a good driving instructor, they would have already decided that and take you off the road. Who cares how many lessons you've had? Even if you're test standard, if you've just gone to pieces on this one day because you've been ill recently and you've had the flu and your feet have just gone all funny, all right, well, that's just what that lesson is. You get this weird driving lesson sometimes where everything just goes weird. I've made a video about it before. It's called the odd driving lesson. It's very strange. This weird driving lesson just comes out of nowhere and smacks you in the face and just goes, I'm the weird driving lesson. I'm going to just do this weird thing to you today, whatever it is. And it might be to do with the clutch, even though you're test standard. You might have a problem with the clutch today. Do you see what I mean? All right, so that's it really. Get yourself off the road. Make sure that you've got, you reconnect to the clutch. If you're driving a new car, you need to be in the side road learning where the biting point is, yeah? Because swapping cars can make a real difference to that as well. If you're in your car and then your instructor's car and then your car and your instructor's car, your clutch work can be proper dodgy. So reconnect to the car. Make friends with it again before you go out on the road. If you're at a good standard, go and do some manoeuvres, yeah? If it's safe for you to do that, do some manoeuvres because it helps you connect to your clutch. Maybe go and do the bay park in an empty bay park. Maybe do a parallel park if that's the right time for you to do that, so you reconnect to your clutch. Maybe do some hill starts. Maybe lock yourself onto a hill. Maybe find the gas, set the gas, find the bike, and just have no intention of going. Release the handbrake to be still, not to go anywhere. Reconnect to your biting point, yeah? If there's absolutely no one around, and I mean no one around, maybe play with your biting point a bit on the hill start, if it's safe to do so and there's no one around. Maybe dip it a bit so you roll a little bit in the hill and then come back up and find the biting point. If there's no one around, dip the clutch, roll a bit, clutch up to the bike, reconnect. Where is it? Oh, it's there. Okay, cool, got it. Yeah, reconnect. So you've got your answers there, guys. Get off the road if you're stalling a lot, because you're going to be flipping stressed, and other drivers don't really want you around if you're stalling that much anyway. Reconnect to your clutch. Get off the road, okay? Make sure that you know what the clutch is, what it does, the functionality of it. Understand properly. Watch videos. Ask your driving instructor. Don't be on the road too early. It's really important. You know, it doesn't help to be put on a dual carriageway on your first lesson, or the magic roundabout. It doesn't help. That's not sensible, yeah, because you're just going to be petrified of driving. If you don't know how the clutch works, you're going to be a petrified driver for life. I've met people who have had 10 years experience. I didn't teach them, but they've come to me 10 years afterwards and gone, I'm scared of driving. And it's because the driving instructor that they had never connected them to the clutch. They never explained it properly. And they need like maximum 5 driving lessons to be like, oh, that's what a clutch does. Oh, now I can connect that to all of the driving that I've ever done. And I'm like, I know how the clutch works now. If you don't know how the clutch works, you're going to be a scared driver, or you're just not going to be very good. I went to South Africa recently, and the taxi driver, every single gear change, he just lifted his clutch up. No softness or anything. So every single gear change we did, we all went like that. I mean, he's a taxi driver. I mean, how could he not be extremely annoyed with his own driving? I mean, I was sat there like, you know, for 7 minutes or whatever I was with him. I was like, how can a professional driver lift their clutch up and do this every time that they gear change and not want to sort that out? I mean, that just does weird things to me, you know? So where was I? Yeah, so reconnect to the clutch. If you are stalling repeatedly because of other people, I understand, but you do really need to accept that you are a learner, yeah? Maybe soften, like stay on the biting point for 2 car lengths, accept that you've stalled, turn the car on and go, I need a moment. I have stalled, but I need a moment, yeah, because otherwise it's just going to repeatedly happen. Stay on the biting point for 2 car lengths, otherwise she's doing that at you. Add a bit more gas if it's safe to do so, not loads, because obviously if you've got fast clutch, you are going to be a bullet out the gun, maybe lose control. That would be horrible. So you need to pair it up, stay on the biting point, add the gas. You need to balance that beautifully. If you really don't understand that, you do need to be in a side road. I need to go to work. Right, I really hope that helps you today. And yeah, just like get everyone to back off, really. We're learning how to drive, you know. If somebody beeps a learner, you really have to sit there and be like, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. We're a learner on the road, which is written in the highway code. We're totally allowed. We're not like renegaded, if that's the right word to use, to like car parks and stuff. We don't have to be somewhere else before going on the road. We are allowed to learn on the road immediately and just move off and stop and move off and stop on the road. Yeah, we are allowed by law, so people need to be a bit more nice to us, yeah? Now, I do appreciate if you are out of your depth and in the wrong place, you're going to get shouted at and told off. And that's another thing. That's why driving instructors should be teaching you in a staircase of learning. They shouldn't just be putting you on the magic roundabout in Swindon on your first lesson or taking you down a dual carriageway, which I've heard about before. They shouldn't be doing that. That's irresponsible. That's irresponsible, and that's not how we learned. If you're accompanying driver or your family member is taking you out of your depth, guys, yeah, they can't stop the car. You need to step in and go, do you know what, Fred, my stepdad or whoever you are, yeah, I'm out of my depth here. I would prefer to be in a side road where I can actually, you know, understand what's going on here. All right, I've got to go to work. I really hope this helps you today. All right, and I'll see you on the next video.